Hello, my name is Nick. I am the creator and lead designer of a currently unreleased sci-fi meets fantasy TTRPG called Antique Worlds. This is a GM's retrospective where I break down my very first campaign I ever ran as a young, dumb GM, go into what I did wrong, how I could have done better, where I could have improved, and just have a discussion about it and see where we can learn. If you're enjoying this journey with me so far, please share this with a friend. That would really help. But, anyways, this is session 5. So let's begin, shall we? So they're finally in the city of Hyperion. Hyperion is this massive city. It's the capital city, so it's the most advanced. It has everything that any of the players could really ask for. And that's what I tried to set up. So when the previous session ended and we were going into set like while we are waiting for session 5, I texted all my players, "Hey, if there's something specific and it can be tied to the main quest or it could be tied to the background or your backstory, I should say. If there's something specific you want to do, please let me know. That way I can design an encounter for you." And I made sure everyone was aware of this. And then I added also like everyone's going to have an opportunity to do their encounter. So don't be pressed for speed. I'm not going to punish y'all on the time wise. I'm not going to punish y'all if y'all take too long doing these encounters I set up for you. I'm not going to be like, you took too long and now the secret door of the library is gone and you can't do it. So I wanted everyone to make sure they weren't going to be punished for that. So pretty much talked to every player and had a plan for each of them. They each told me what they wanted. Some of it was very simple, where it's like, hey, I'm just looking for, you know, a weapon or an upgrade or something like that. So, for example, Parallax was looking to get his arm replaced since he lost it in the last session. And then some of them were a little bit more complex encounters that, had more involved. But that was fine. Like, that's what I wanted everyone to do. That way, if someone wanted to tie their backstory in, they could. So when the session starts and I remind everyone of that and I emphasized again, like, hey, you're not going to get punished for taking your time here. A couple of the players that I had designed encounters for just didn't want to do their encounter anymore, even though it tied into their backstory, which is very confusing. It was like one of those things, they made it clear that they didn't want to do it, so I didn't push it. But it was like, okay, I thought we had this planned out and this was going to be good for your backstory, but I guess not. Okay, let's move on then. So I don't know, like I'm assuming I did the right thing by not forcing them into that encounter, but at the same time, it's one of those things where it's like they missed out on some role play and some stuff about their backstory wasn't able to come out. And I don't know, and it took a long time, a while in in the campaign for some of that backstory stuff to come out. So I don't know. I don't know. Let me know in the comments, right or wrong. What would you have done? So we kind of go through everyone's in little, built out encounters, and then they make it to the library. And it's funny enough, this is actually the library that Sloan works out. And this library, it's like the library from Beauty and the Beast. It's like decadence on decadence. It's like the rich of the rich. It's absolutely beautiful, but it is a lot. It is a lot to look at. It's massive. So Sloan gets everyone inside and she goes to look for the head librarian. And I actually had him out of town, like taking the basically the interns there out on like a field trip essentially. And I was building up that to be a side plot, but it never came to fruition. So he was basically a forgotten character. So they explore the library for a while. Each of them is kind of looking for some sort of, information they can find. So one of the things was found was Tara was looking through old maps and she ended up finding a map that showed the area's name of he found a map showing the name of the area where she was born, when she was born. Whatever had its name, now it's currently called Lutta. So now she knows where she was actually born, its location. They continue to explore the library. They find this secret passage that even Sloan didn't know about. And that secret passage leads to a secret door. They get past the secret door. The secret door leads to a secret stairwell that goes down underground. It was funny because the stairwell I had tried to make turn it into a puzzle where the stairwell was basically looping, and Tama figured it out like instantly, like super fast. He figured out what the puzzle was and immediately solved it. But I did such a poor job at explaining essentially that it was a puzzle that some of the other characters, some of the other players were like, "Oh, this was a puzzle? What? Oh, I didn't even realize that kind of thing." So that's on me. I need to do a better job of being very explicit in, hey, this is a puzzle. I just need to be clearer in my communication with my players. So they make it down the stairwell and they get to basically this underground library. It's like an ancient library full of esoteric knowledge. This modern library has been built on top of it. But this ancient library, it's a mess. It is completely, looks like it's been set on fire, bombed out. Books are destroyed. It's covered in layers and layers and layers of dust, and it is completely wrecked. And as they explore it, they're looking for any kind of information they can find. There's this encounter with these, essentially, they are book people. They are humanoid shaped and they are made from the pages of books, and those pages are constantly swirling and rustling throughout their body. And there's going to be in a combat encounter, and then of all people, Parallax is the one to speak up and say, "Hey, maybe we shouldn't fight. Let's talk. Maybe we're not the enemy you think we are." They talk. The book people, they can't vocalize any language. Instead, their swirling pages that make up their body stop on specific words, and they basically do that to make a sentence. And I stole that from Transformers with how Bumblebee uses his radio to talk. He would just find random clips that are on the radio to say the sentence he needs to say. And I kind of just stole that and took it and turned it into pages instead. So they communicate with these book people. So the book people tell them, hey, yeah, to fix the fracture, save the planet, they need to kill Teyolia. That's like part one. And then they have to do some stuff to close the fracture, but they don't really know how to close the fracture. They said that they need to find the gray-eyed girl, and she's going to be able to help them. The party's like, well, where's the gray-eyed girl? And all they have is this information, which is essentially a very, very simple, not a poem, but a very simple, like little. It's essentially a riddle, I guess you could, not even a riddle, but I'll just read it to you. It says, "Stolen eyes with a gray haze, precious stone marks a mountainous gate. A door to nowhere leads to her. Salvation lies in the city of Mist." Obviously, stolen eyes with a gray haze is a reference to the gray-eyed girl. The stolen eyes comes out later what that actually means. Precious stone marks a mountainous gate. So that's the first clue they have to where her location is. And the book people tell them exactly where the mountainous gate is. They know the location of it. So they give them the location of the mountainous gate so they can begin their journey to find the gray-eyed girl. That was really all the information they had. So the party moves on and continues deeper into the library to find a way out. When they get deeper into the library, they come across this standing body of a man who has one of his hands handcuffed to the wall. And he is like, looks like he's like petrified wood almost. And they search his body and they find a letter in his like jacket. And the letter is from a woman named Mercy. And in the letter, it reveals that the man's name is Caspian. The letter, it's clear that they are a married couple. They end the letter with "To my dearest," and throughout the whole campaign, the players continuously find these letters and they're always signed off the same way: "To my dearest, to my dearest." So the letters ended up being called the "My Dearest" letters. These two people end up being connected to one of the players' backstories. I'm not going to say who yet, but I used the letter basically as a imperfect way to drop important lore about the world and what's going on, give the players clues, and then also flush out one of the characters' backstories. So anytime you hear me talk about the my dearest letters, that's what this is. So they leave, they take the letter and they leave, and then they make their way out of the library, get back into the city of Hyperion. What happens is they're going to go see, or what? So now the party wants to go see Var and talk to him. Sloan is very hesitant to, so she manages to convince them to go see her mom first because she wants to get some information from her mom. So the thing about Sloane's mom, Sloan is a very attractive young woman. Her mom is a very attractive older woman. So, hilarity ensued because there was like essentially what was a miscommunication between Warden and Sloane's mom, and they both ended up accidentally flirting with each other, but it came off in a way where it looked like Warden was flirting with Sloane's mom. So for the rest of the campaign, the ongoing joke was that Warden was going to marry Sloane's mom and then be Sloane's dad. So her mom is a doctor, like a very intelligent doctor, but she didn't have any information other than that Sloane's dad, the one who the note was written to, was out of town for right now. They leave Sloane's mom. They finally make it to Devar, and they're talking to Devar. And it comes out essentially because Sloane is carrying the broken sword of Anji. Devar wants to know what happened to Anji. They explain that Anji was killed. They found his body. They buried him. And then he had this note on him. And then Devar, this is actually funny because this is one of the times where I didn't play all my cards close to the chest and I was just open with my information. And Devar just admits to what Anji was doing and what the six that what that letter about the six means. So he tells them, hey, we were given coordinates by a very powerful being about a secret sixth continent. So I sent Anji as my representative to verify this information to see if it was even true and then to try and make contact with the whoever is the leader of this continent. So Anji was killed on the way back because of whatever happened there. And he's upset because he was close to Anji. That was one of his like lieutenants, his right hand men. Essentially, he says, hey, I have these coordinates. Anji trusted you, Sloan. You have these people who look like talented warriors. What if y'all act as my representatives? I'll give you transportation to go to those coordinates, act as my representative, and help kind of broker an allyship with these whoever is on the continent. And the players, they agree. He gives them this airship. I remember that was funny because the players above the table were like freaking out because they're like, well, now we can't, if we're on an airship with Devar, there's no way we're going to be able to go to the mountain. Like, what are we going to do? And then they got the airship and it was just them on it. There was no one else with Devar. Devar also gave them like essentially papers that showed that they were acting under his orders. And so they left Devar and you take the airship and they fly out to the mountain range that the book people told them about. They land. They have a very brief battle with some bandits. There wasn't anything crazy. So the bandits were no problem with them. They handle them very easily. Then they make it up to this mountain range, and it is the sun is setting. It's getting dark. As they enter this mountain range, they see all these people around this little tiny little town. It's not even a town, there's just a few little buildings. All these people are super weird. They're not right. They're not natural. They're not normal. So these people, like, they ignore them. They won't interact with them. They have like these 1,000 yard stares. Eventually, the air becomes still and dead and silent, and it becomes a struggle for them to move and walk. And they hear like a creaking of chains, like a swinging kind of thing. And those eyes with the mouth appear again, and Teyolia is there. And Teyolia basically is there for no reason. I don't really know why I wanted an encounter with Teyolia and the party. He just mocks them. They mock him. It's just trading back and forth. I think in my mind, I was trying to like intimidate, like, oh, the big scary guy is here again. Yeah. But it didn't have that effect. Players are almost never scared of the BBEG, which is fine. That's not the issue. It's like, the issue was I made an encounter that had no point. I know what my point was because it was a cheap little stunt I pulled because at the very end when Teolia leaves, all those weird people disappear with him. Like they were just projections, except for two of them. And two of them are like they're dead, and it was River and Christian. I had made this encounter where I wanted the end result to be the one of the people that they liked a lot to have died because of it, and then also as a way of like Teolia is keeping an eye on you and watching what's going on. And it didn't flow that way. It wasn't a good encounter. I didn't play it well. And then one of the big issues too was that basically once the players had gotten on the airship, I had seen all the signs that the players were tired. They like everyone was yawning. What used to be like multi-sentence responses were getting down just a few words, and some of the responses were just like one word. So I knew my players were tired, but I kept pushing them and pushing them. I should have ended the session because we've been playing for like 3 or 4 hours at that point. I should have just ended the session with them on the airboat or the airship, but I wanted them to have this basically meaningless encounter. So I kept pushing them. I pushed them through the combat, and then I pushed them through this encounter with Teolia, and it was all basically for nothing because I just pushed my players further than I should have, and that was a big mistake. because this encounter I wanted to be cool wasn't cool because one, I didn't execute it at all, like correctly at all. And then the other problem was my players were super tired and I kept pushing them. What like I said, I should have done is when I noticed they were tired, let's just end the session, find a spot to end it. But also something I've done going forward from that day is I implement a lot more breaks throughout the session. Just a 5-minute break here or there, a 10-minute break here or there. It works wonders for the quality of life for a campaign. I also make sure everyone knows that at any time they want to take a break, we can take a break. You know, just speak up and say, "Hey, I need a five. I need five. I need five." That helps with the quality of life on a campaign so, so much. Is just don't push your players more than you need to. Even if that's not where you planned on stopping, it's okay to stop early and then just take breaks. So yeah, that's session 5. We're finally getting into the actual meat and potatoes of the campaign now. Their goal is to find the gray-eyed girl so they can kill Teyolia and fix the fracture. Tell me what you think. Have you ever, did what I did where you pushed players way too hard and then it ended up ruining an encounter you had set up? Any tips or advice for me, sound off in the comments. Please let me know. I appreciate you coming on this journey with me. So if you can, please, share this comment. It really helps. The engagement is really important. And I appreciate you listening. Thank you so much. And as always, goodbye.